is the meeting of Traffic, Parking, and Transportation Committee. It's January the 3rd. We have about 3 different bills. The first one is Bill BL 2018-1441, LROD. Amends Chapter 12.62 and 12.84 of Title 12 of the Metro Code of Laws regarding shared urban mobility devices. There is a proposed substitute which is attached over here. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I'll explain the substitute. I'm going to ask for adoption of the substitute and defer the ordinance for one meeting to work through a few issues. So the substitute does a few things. One, it puts what I'm calling a soft cap on the number of powered SUMDs. So that's basically scooters, although I may need to clarify that doesn't mean e-bikes. So that's a clarification. So it would set a soft cap of 4. Any above that would have to go to the TLC with Mr. Fields, and the TLC can approve them or not. If there are any that are above 4 at the time of passing the ordinance, which right now there are 5, the 5th one would be any beyond 4 would essentially have their permit revoked, and they could go to the commission to whether or not to get on the streets and get approved. There are some due process issues with that, but I think we've got a clause in the ordinance that says, in the original ordinance that says you have to comply with anything the council passes. So I think that should cover it, but I'm going to do some more research on that. Second thing it does is right now any violation of the ordinance is a $25 fine to the company. This puts in place a traffic violation for those that are under 18. And it's already prohibited, but this just puts some teeth into it to where a police officer can write that underage person a ticket. A couple of clarifying the current ordinance. One just clarifies that what's already in the ordinance as far as what's needed for when you operator increases their fleet, that they have to meet the criteria, which are basically you have below the threshold for violations and above the utilization threshold for the how often your scooters, SUMDs are being ridden, and it also allows the commission to change the anti-clustering provision, which right now it says not to exceed 340 of each type of SUMD per square mile, with the number of companies that are coming to Nashville. That may need to be changed, and it gives the commission the authority to change that as they need, or feel that it's needed. So that's what the substitute does.
What's the cap on each company now, the number of scooters?
They get 500 when they get approved. After the first month, they get 750, and after the second month, they can go up to 1,000. But at each threshold, or at each point, they have to show that they're being used according to the utilization threshold that's already in the original ordinance. And one, they're not having a certain number of violations of the ordinance, which the commission has set.
And this was a pilot program. When does the pilot program end?
It is still a pilot project, and it doesn't have an end date, but as we've said from the beginning, and because of that clause in the ordinance, we can pull the plug on it at any time.
Have there been any violations or citations issued on any of the scooters at this point in time, or do we know?
We have not taken it to the commission. I think we've got 2, and this is one of the more complicated parts of it. You have 2 different kind of violations. You have the violation of a rider or a driver on the street that takes the bike, the scooter, the SUMD, and just leaves it anywhere they want to leave. That's a violation. The question becomes, at what point do you begin holding the company accountable for it? Because clearly, if you look at the education program that the companies have developed, they're saying don't do that. So the companies seem to be making good faith efforts to try to convince the riders on where to leave vehicles. What the commission established was a threshold of 20 complaints that are at a company level. So one of the things we'll be looking for, and the part we are looking for, is when is the company failing to make good faith efforts, and even if they're making good faith efforts at a certain point, say it doesn't matter. You still are, they're still doing X, Y, and Z. You're going to be held accountable for it, and then we go to the commission. I don't know if the police have actually written any citations. My officers have not. We have 2 enforcement officers. We have not written citations on it, but again, at the current time, those citations are going to go to the company.
Yeah, the biggest problem, I don't have a problem with them except for being on the sidewalks, and I've told the lobbyists and the sponsors of these that's the biggest problem I've had. I've seen them on the sidewalks constantly.
I think the sidewalk issue is the issue.
I've done the same thing, and Jack, I haven't told you, if you can fix riding on sidewalks and the parking issue, these things, I mean,
The rest of it, we
yeah, the rest of it's, even in Public Works talked about, the number of accidents that are being seen in hospitals. At least so far, they kind of track the same, per capita percentage of folks that, are going to the hospital for car accidents. So, if I don't think we'll ever, just as, people still speed and drive their, car or truck inappropriately, there will still be scooters on sidewalks, but if that doesn't get a handle on and those decrease and the parking improve, then that's going to hinder whether or not this pilot project stops being a pilot project and is just, implemented as a regular part of the
Okay,
metro
and what
code.
about the e-bikes? Is there going to be a limitation on them too, or what's the situation with that?
They have the same number of limitations as far as numbers and all that kind of thing. We only have the first provider is Jump, which is owned by Uber. They're bringing the first e-bikes to Nashville, and they've just got authorized in
Couple weeks. Bought a warehouse, hired a bunch of employees, and they're gonna set them out and pick them up, not allow individuals to do that.
which I think is interesting. Y'all have done it, and I think Lyft has done the same thing. You're all actually hiring full-time people, and hiring folks full-time. Not, Bird and Lime have a different business model where, you're a charger and anybody can be a charger, but y'all are hiring full-time staff
That's right.
to handle your scooters and bikes, which I think is great.
All right.
Chair, can I ask Mr. Fields a few questions? So I appreciate the discussion we had in Public Works Committee, which was very lengthy, so I'm not going to really rehash all that. But, I do want to say that while I'm definitely supportive of multimodal transportation, and I respect very much all the work that's done, I didn't vote on this bill because I thought it was a pilot in words only. It did not have a sunset provision on it. So in my view, it doesn't have kind of sufficient teeth in it, right? And so I would like to understand from an expansion standpoint, the thresholds that have been met. I mean, you said our commission hasn't issued any violations. We can't tell from MNPD if there have been any violations, but we set a 20 violation threshold. So I respect and appreciate that you are doing outreach to the central precinct, that you're talking to the companies, you're talking to Vanderbilt as well. But again, I still feel like we're kind of operating in this anecdotal space where we lack enforcement. And so to Councilman Elrod's standpoint, people are going to speed and people are going to ride on sidewalks, and it's usually a lack of enforcement issue. So I guess we are somewhat betwixt and between, right? Because it's, is the violator the person using the scooter, or is the violator the company because they've not duly informed or set up particular in that space? Here we are. It's just.
And I think where we are at the commission level is we recognize that that we think there's two different kinds of violations. We think it's clearly the company failed to meet a certain section of the ordinance.
So do we have, though, if you said a 20 violation threshold, is that a composite of riders and company? Or should it perhaps be for the company, it's lower, and for the customer? Do you see what I'm saying?
I absolutely do, and I think that's part of the reason when the commission passes a rule, what they're able to do, if need be, at the very next meeting, they can come back and change the rule. And I think part of it through this pilot period is we're trying to figure that out. And I think the other side of that is that the ordinance requires a study by July 1st that says what have we learned and what have we seen. And I'm hoping those are the kind of things we can actually flesh out to figure out, one, how is the best way to enforce. And two, then at what point do we enforce? I think it's one thing for, there's a personal level of responsibility I think the riders have to be held accountable for. I think by the same token, if the company is not making the efforts that they need to be making, and it's pretty easy to know. At least I think from what I can tell you is that the companies have been very responsive when they have vehicles in the wrong spots. We are getting them moved. Now we're having to report them, and that's a challenge because every day there's going to be a few dozen that are out of space. that are in the wrong space. So again, that's where we're working, is trying, okay, how do we report it? How do we get it done? And then at what point we say, no, you're going to the commission and you're going to have to explain why this is a sustainable complaint. And it may be that what needs to happen is that threshold may need to be lowered. And the commission, in their conversation that particular day back in November, was actually talking about that, is how many should it be? Should it be 10? Should it be 50? The reality in terms of the number of rides, what that particular day, the companies reported close to 500,000 rides that had taken place in Nashville. And then, at that point, in terms of complaints that have been filed with the commission, or not filed with the commission, but had been reported through the hub or through council members, was probably 175. So I'm looking at, 400 and some odd thousand rides and 100 and some odd complaints. So it's been a challenge for us.
Can I ask, from an awareness standpoint, would there be merit in working with the central precinct? And you could give due notice, like you do when you do sobriety checks on, St. Patrick's Day or New Year's or whatever, but, doing some targeted enforcement and start, like, if you're using the scooter on the sidewalk, then, like, you're actually getting a ticket, we have this difficulty around speeding and all that kind of stuff too, but Central Precinct, downtown, we know that is a business district. We know absolutely within downtown, that's where we get the most of the emails. Like, I was on such and such avenue downtown and somebody just, buzzed me.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
We can ask that again. Obviously, I can't do the enforcement like that, but we can ask the police, would they be willing to, and I suspect they would. They've been, the Central Precinct commander and staff have worked really hard with us.
right. It can be
we
an
can do that.
educational effort, right?
Sure.
You say, hey, this week,
But one of
on
the
the
things that
news, we're
comes-
going to be focused on this, and we're going to be issuing tickets, and it raises people's awareness about the sidewalk, and there's actually, like, a consequence. Everybody does everything with impunity in the city. They speed with impunity. It's just because we don't have sufficient enforcement.
I'd be happy to discuss that with the
Okay,
downtown commander.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor of the amendment?
The substitute?
Yeah, substitute?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain?
So, and I move for a 1 meeting deferral then, and of course we're referral to.
All right, so now we pass it along with the proposed amendment, or is that all we're voting on is an amendment?
The substitute, yeah. We're basically adopted the substitute, but we're going to defer a recommendation one meeting.
So don't we need to vote on it as amended now? Or not?
The substitute. Well, we voted on the substitute, so now we just need to make a motion to, you just made the motion, so I'll second the motion to
Defer one meeting.
As amended.
as substitute. Or,
Okay, and to defer one meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
All against?
I'll vote on one meeting deferral.
None?
I'll vote on one meeting deferral.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I think we got other
I don't know if
stuff.
Councilman O'Connell has thoughts on that as relates to Central Precinct. Councilman O'Connell, like, would,
We got one
We got
more,
two
we're
more.
not done.
One or two more things.
Hang on.
good night, sorry.
You want me to put you abstaining on the amendment, right?
Yes, I'm fine to vote on a deferral. I do not respectfully appreciate all the work. I don't really want to vote on advancing this at
All
this
right, so I'm
juncture
gonna
as
add-
amended.
All right, so I'm gonna put you abstaining on the proposed substitute.
Okay,
correct?
yes, sir.
That's okay, I want to make sure. All right, thank you. All right, next bill is BL 2018-1450, O'Connell, Edney, Bennings Alley, number 120, right-of-way and easement. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions? No? Okay, passes. Then we have bill number BL 2018-1451, O'Connell and Bidney, Bennings Portion Alley, number 938, right-of-way and easement. Do I have a motion?
Move. Second. Is this the alley that's in the shape of a woman?
Where are these alleys, Councilman O'Connell?
Yeah,
I can't even remember. I'll have to look.
What does it say, Councilman Hagar? Where are they?
I don't know. Am I supposed to
Should
know?
we be
It's
voting
just
on
this alleyway number.
It's a number, 936 right-of-way. Huh?
I'll look at the map before we.
Somewhere downtown, right?
We're abandoning Ryman's Alley behind all the bars.
No,
Yeah.
we don't want to do that, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'll assume you've looked at it
Yeah,
and you
voted.
think it's a good abandonment, right?
All right, pass. All right, that, any other questions? That ends our meeting.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Might be Kid Rock's place.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.